When I dropped off my kid, my mother said, "We're not your babysitters anymore." I therefore cut them off, canceled their insurance and rent, and left them in chaos while I traveled with my kid. I pushed Catherine's beloved purple dinosaur quickly into her overnight bag, wedging my phone between my ear and shoulder. "Mom, I'm not sure how appreciative I am. For my career, this is very important. I pajamas, review my checklist, toothbrush, security blanket, extra clothes. The quantity of basics for only one night seems excessive." Roger, tapping his watch, walks inside Catherine's room. "Samantha, we have to go. Traffic is already really bad." I nod, mouthing one sec as the speaker. My mother's voice crackles across. "Family always comes first. Of course, Samantha, you know this." I disregard her voice as I do not completely understand what she is saying. 6 years of financial support makes one evening of babysitting feasible. "We'll be there in 20, I say, hanging off the phone. With a diaper backpack thrown over his shoulder, Roger asks, "Everything orderly?" "Yes," I say, raising our sleeping child. Her kind attitude to me helps me to relax. Mom will assist. She always does when it really matters. The trip to my parents' place sets off a familiar combination of uncertainty and optimism. Sunlight passes through, oak trees for Roger's parking lot. I remember why tonight counts from a quick look in the mirror at Catherine's calm face. Better education, a genuine college fund, and realistic security follow from the promotion. Roger compresses my hand. "Are ready?" I nod, unkying Catherine as he picks her luggage. My mother answers the door as we arrive. Her grin falters upon seeing Catherine's pink duffel. "This is what is." Her voice becomes icy. Uncertainty constricts my chest. "Mom, what Catherine has, my presentation." She folds her arms. "Samantha, we raised our kids. We are not babysitters." The words sound like a smack. Catherine whirls around in my arms. Roger pauses next to me, bag hung from his hand. "Still, we spoke about this," I say. "We would discuss, not that we would agree." Laughing comes from within. I pass over her. "Who's here?" "Samantha, this isn't excellent." I trail the voices into the living room. My father knelt and stacked blocks with the children of Martha. Martha sits on the sofa, browsing on her phone. "What is occurring?" My voice comes out far away. My father looks up, guilt dancing before he gathers himself. "Was not expecting you to drop by." Martha looks up, nothing. "Tonight Mom and Dad are babysitting the boys." I wanted a break and had a headache. 6 years of financial assistance seemed to fly through my head. 6 years on $800 a month. 6 years, just till we are steady. 6 years of missing birthdays due to excessively hectic schedules. My first salary at 22, Mom asked casually for food money. The festive meal celebrating my promotion, when people went crazy on lobster and champagne. Martha made nothing throughout the years I paid their auto insurance. Everything comes together at one terrible moment. Roger walks next to me with a touch. I comprehend silently at my lower back anchoring me. I understand that as well. Ignorant of the rejection, Catherine extends for her grandma. Gamma says silently. I move her in front of me. My voice is steadier than I would like when I talk. Right now I can see it. "Just your wallet. I was never your daughter." The cheeks of my mother redeemed. "Samantha, try not to be foolish. This isn't about money. Not exactly. It's more about value. And only mine exist when I pay for your bills." Roger is gathering Catherine's stuff right now. Not even a chat required here. The way one drives home is silent. Houses blur past, each one harboring its own underlying family dynamics. Roger reaches for my hand across the console. A simple comfort. As we park, the anguish stays, but behind it, something greater rises. Clarity. Roger switches off the engine. What now? I meet his eyes, the decision already solid. I know precisely what needs to happen. The soft illumination of my laptop fills up the living room. The table hums Catherine's monitor, her languid breathing a consistent pattern. My fingers hesitate over the keyboard, then move with assurance. I open my banking dashboard. 6 years of automated withdrawals look back at me. You sure? Roger's voice is low, steady. I nod. The cursor lingers above cancel payment. Click, utilities, gone. Phone plan, canceled. Vehicle insurance, terminated. With each click, a weight lifts, as if unseen shackles are cracking one by one. I open up the spreadsheet I generated throughout the previous several hours. Every payment, transfer, and loan I've made for them. The sum blinks at me. 50 cents, setting $600. I'm beyond feeling astonished. The real surprise is how long I allowed this to continue. Roger rests alongside me as I compose a last text to my parents and Martha. From now on, manage your own expenditures. I send it. Then, one by one, I block them. Mom, Dad. I pause at Martha's name, then push block. The action seems brutal, but essential, like closing a wound. Come to bed, Roger whispers. Tomorrow will be a long day. At 6:37 a.m. my phone bursts. Unknown numbers, voicemails, emails from forgotten accounts. They've already discovered ways around the block. I scan the texts while Roger makes coffee. A knot tightens in my gut. As each communication comes, Samantha, the rent didn't process. The landlord called. My mother's first voicemail, her tone tinged with perplexity, barely concealed under worry. Call me immediately, my father, straight to the point. By the third voicemail, my mother's tone hardens. Samantha, we might lose our house. Is that what you want? The messages progress from disbelief to annoyance to fury. You cannot just abandon us like this. Clear from my father's email, time-stamped 11:42, is the instant he knew the payments had ceased. He stretched out. A book from a foreign number, but I know Martha's backup is here. This isn't about money. You're simply bitter because you weren't the favored. I set my phone down, hands firm. They've noticed. Roger sets a coffee in front of me. You all right? I take a slow breath. I guess so. By the afternoon, the onslaught spreads to social media. Roger frowns, holding out his phone. You need to see this. My mother's Facebook message shines on the screen, meticulously constructed for compassion, distraught. My own daughter, who has more than enough, abandoned us when we needed her most. No warning, no explanation. Money truly does transform people. Please, keep our family in your prayers. The comments pile up. Some youngsters forget where they came from. Never imagined Samantha would do this. You raised her better. Martha's contribution. She's always been selfish. My palms quiver as I browse through the public humiliation. This is why you maintained records, Roger reminded me. They were always going to do this. A buzz, a text from Janice, a colleague. Hey, noticed some family trouble online. You okay? Here, if you wish to speak. Then from Dr. Levine, my therapist. Saw your mom's post being shared. This simply indicates you made the proper option. And Julia, an old childhood buddy. We all witnessed how they handled you. Stay strong. I sigh and open my laptop. Roger watches. What now? I browse to my cloud storage. Proof. I drag files into family financial records. Bank statements, one-sided texts, event images I was excluded from, a spreadsheet of every dime I sent them, screenshots of every refusal to watch Catherine. Roger observes me. You sure? I meet his eyes. They don't get to change the history. My fingers fly, forming the reaction that will alter everything. I gaze at my phone, hesitating. One post, and everything has unraveled. Samantha. Roger's voice draws me back. He turns his laptop toward me. The part for comments has changed. Look, he says. Your mom's friend Grace. She's protecting you. Half of her friends. Shocked. I know names from prior birthdays and family gatherings. People who formerly stood behind my parents are now realizing the truth. Even Martha's circle is moving away. Roger scrolls. 3 of her pals unfollowed her since yesterday. Grateful for your honesty. Your tale gave me the guts to cease supporting my brother's mortgage. Your mom gushed about her trip at book club while saying you don't help enough. Unbelievable. My throat tightens. I never anticipated this. Roger squeezes my shoulder. Maybe this needs to happen. My phone vibrates. Mom's 14th. Attempt to contact me in an hour. I refuse the call. A text comes up. Samantha, delete that post instantly. Your father's blood pressure has soared. Do you want this to be his final memory of you? Call me ASAP. The customary guilt stirs. But I understand the deception. Dad's unexpected health concerns usually appear as responsibility near. I erase the message. They showed up to my employment. I tell Roger. Security had to escort them out. Roger's jaw clenches. That crosses a line. Megan from accounting stated Mom was weeping over my imagined collapse. I let out a brittle chuckle. Martha's been phoning from numerous numbers. Their landlord called out, wondering whether I'm still managing their rent. Roger scrolls farther. Martha's telling everyone you're experiencing a mental breakdown. Your cousin George texted me. She's claiming the burden of parenthood drove you over the edge, and that's why you cut them off. Anger surges through me. She's attempting to damage my credibility. There's more. Roger's voice hardens. Your aunt called. If you don't correct this, we're no longer considered family. I exhale. Is it intended to intimidate me? Being cut off from individuals who simply regarded me as an ATM. Another call. Unknown number. I silence it. At least we know who genuinely cares. Roger replies, glancing at a note from his parents. We'd love to take Catherine this weekend. Some grandparents desire to be part in their grandchild's lives. A warmth I haven't felt in years sweeps through me. Not exactly healing, but something close. Even my co-workers have rallied. Evelyn prevented Martha from showing up at my workplace. Noah redirected my parents' calls. My supervisor granted me a mental wellness day. Family concerns are tougher than job deadlines. Take the time you need. I open my banking app, still accustomed to the sight of my full balance, without those automated withdrawals. The relief is nearly dizzying. Roger breaks the quiet. What about the cottage in the mountains? The one with the fireplace? I start to say, we shouldn't, then stop myself. Actually, let's book it. I peek at the daycare, brochure, the one with music programs and an outside play area we discarded as too exorbitant. Maybe now it's within grasp. My phone screen lights up with another message. This one from Aunt Carolyn. Your mother is in pieces. We're all worried about your well-being. This isn't like you, Samantha. Family concerns should be private. They're mobilizing the wider family now, I whisper, displaying my phone to Roger. He sighs, not astonished, just let down. I block Aunt Carolyn's number. That night, tiredness drags me into bed. But for the first time in years, I feel lighter. I don't lay awake working out how to stretch our budget for someone else. There are no dreams of denied transactions or frantic pleadings, just deep, undisturbed rest. By morning, I open my banking app and gaze at numbers that, for once, aren't disappearing before the next payday. What's on your mind? Roger says, pushing a coffee cup toward me. 3 weeks ago, that daycare with the music courses seemed out of reach. I nod at the pamphlet on the counter. Now it's truly doable. Roger smirks. And the cottage in the mountains? I automatically start to say no, but stop myself. Yes, let's book it. This is what people do. Roger replies gently. They spend their money for their own family. I nod, still getting acclimated to the concept. I arranged my first therapy session, too. Dr. Kelly has an opening next week. The following morning, I wake to 14 missed calls and a hospital message mentioning my dad's name. My stomach twists until I notice the time stamp. 3:17 a.m. A simple call to the hospital verifies what I thought. Richard Taylor was admitted overnight. I breath and place my phone down. I need a new number. Roger nods, already collecting his keys. I've been looking at security solutions, too. You truly believe they'd... I have no clue anymore, he adds. That's what bothers me. 3 days later, I sit across from Dr. Kelly. The guilt is still there, I acknowledge. Like I'm doing something weird by not burning myself on fire to keep them warm. She nods. That guilt was conditioned into you. It's their strongest weapon. My mother showed up at my work again. Security had to stop her from coming in. How did it affect your mood? Embarrassed at first, then enraged. I sit more upright than certain. I tell her about Roger facing his father, the cease and desist letter, the new locks, the security cameras. You are defining limits, Dr. Kelly notes, not excluding them, just shielding yourself. I open my laptop that evening as Catherine is building a block tower on the floor. My pointer wanders around my social media profiles. I turn off them all with 3 clicks. There is hallowed quiet. Roger sits next to me, encircling my shoulders with his arm. Your opinion is more than suitable. I slant myself toward him and see Catherine's stack of blocks teeter before falling. She laughs, then gets right to rebuild, this time from a more stable basis. I grin at the lesson not stated. Sometimes things must break down before they can be rebuilt correctly. On the table lays my new phone. No coercive calls, no guilt-tripping literature, just space to breathe, to heal, to progress. Then, a notice from an unknown number. You wrecked this family. Hope you're proud of yourself, you selfish. I push delete. A fresh message shows up. Another of my mom's pals. That's the 6th this week. I erase it and leave my phone face down on the kitchen counter. Out the window, Roger is pushing Catherine on the swing set we installed last weekend. Something suddenly inexpensive after I stopped paying my folks' money. The neighborhood chatter struck its zenith last month when my folks staged a yard sale. On display with a price tag of $1,500 was their perfect Italian leather sofa, the one I unintentionally paid for, Mom's fancy goods, Dad's golf equipment, all solid, evidence of where my $800 a month payments really went. Pamela whispered in the shop yesterday, they're job hunting right now. Mom's tennis buddy for years turned away from me. Your mom applied at a call center. Your dad interviewed at a hardware shop. I nodded, keeping my expression still while I selected apples. That's outstanding. 2 months later, what I omitted? Their rock bottom arrived after 8 weeks. Not old. They are in their 50s. What I omitted is long ago. They ought to have had work. I didn't mention Martha's at last paying for her own children. My hands steady as I put cherry tomatoes into the salad and cut cucumbers. They would have trembled 3 months ago about their next demand. I checked, and the doorbell rang. Mrs. Deborah from the church carrying a casserole peephole, lips tightly closed in assessment. Samantha welcomes me with a false tenderness. Brought your family dinner. I'm thinking over everything. In other words, I choose my side, and it is not your. Sort of you, but we're all okay. I answer. I never welcome her inside. Actually, tomorrow night my boss is coming over for supper. Her eyebrows raised last week when I was promoted, though I had not intended to share. Watching her shocked makes it well worth it. She stammers. A promotion is calling. Of course, who would advocate the self-centered daughter who left her unhappy parents? She knows nothing. I now work. Less hours. No. More people juggling their financial crises. My performance shot. Ideas come easily without terrified calls about bounced checks or past due debts. I go for the casserole. It's simpler. Tell thank you to your prayer group. I know they are begging for me to crawl back and play family ATM. To regret this. I toss the casserole right away into the garbage after she goes. Perhaps small scale, but liberating. Later, when Catherine has settled down, I discover Roger clutching an old picture. My graduation, parents beaming before the demands, before the cash, me in cap and gown. "You okay?" he says, seeing me gazing. Earlier, I confess, sitting beside him, I shed tears about it. Not because I miss them. I miss someone I believed they were. Roger gently slides the picture into his bedside drawer rather than the dresser. Though it's little, it communicates everything. We are allowing fresh recollections room. The next weekend, I open Catherine's college fund. That initial $800 deposit seems really large. The money that formerly disappeared into my parents' insatiable desires will protect my daughter's future going forward. Will we visit Granny today? Catherine asks sometimes. Every time it stings. Not for me, but for her. She is not old enough to know how relationships may become poisonous. "Not today, darling," I reply, pointing her toward toys, books, or the swing. Therapy reminds me that survival is what drives not selfish behavior. When I discuss establishing limits with church ladies, old acquaintances, and messengers from my mother's house sent to guilt me, my counselor nods. She says, "You're discovering yourself once again. You are engrossed with taking care. Samantha is someone you are learning about now without lugging everyone else's troubles. Samantha is a tranquil sleeper who no longer worries about debts. She is a mom totally present at bath time. She is a wife with vitality for date evenings. She is a professional finally recognized. Quite surprisingly, I like this side of myself. I saw my high school English instructor last week at the shop. She came to give me hugs. She said, "I heard what happened. The same was done by my sister. Walking away kept me sane. This eluded me. Had a name and financial abuse. That chilling clarity I experienced was not just mine." Later I tell Roger I wasn't the issue. I reasoned that if I just worked more, everything would be fixed. He gets me near. Walking away, you corrected just the one thing you could. Spring unfolds outside. We are cultivating a garden, things that remain constant. Clearly marked wooden frames define the limits. On the counter for 3 days rests an envelope. No name, yet I recognize the handwriting of my mother. Our sole interaction for 8 months has been from attorneys or others. Roger says you don't have to read it. He handed me coffee. Your decision. I trace my finger along the seal. What if it is yet another trap? Toss it then, he says gently. You know now how. I open it that night. Catherine falls asleep. 2 handwritten, without blame, without demands. Simply remorse. I stayed on until nothing remained. Then upon your stopping, I become enraged. Samantha, I'm sorry. I phone my therapist next morning. Though words cannot show it, she argues. People may change by deeds. I say, a cafe meeting, public, brief. She agrees. There is no debate. Something starts to change. She respects my border for once. Cafe Meridian hums when I get here early. Order black coffee. I sit in the corner opposite the door. I won't drink it. My mother shows up nearly unidentifiable just on time. The fancy purse and colored hair are gone. She is older, smaller, dressed in plain, sensible clothing. She freezes when she sees me and grips a fabric bag. I remain sat and quiet. She approaches cautiously. Samantha, standing near the chair, speaks gently. "Sit," I say, steadily. She does, hands on the table, then pulls them back tensely. So unlike the confident lady I used to know, I start with clarity in mind. This is a dialogue, not a reconciliation. My limitations cannot be changed. Should I feel controlled, I walk away. I anticipate wrath, but she only nods. I can see. Then the server shows up. She orders simple tea. She says nothing, no complaints either. Once by myself, I remain straight. You grabbed about $60,000 from me. You insulted me when I stopped paying, gave Martha's children preference over mine. She says, tears rising in her eyes, "Yes, I did. The straightforward reality really hurts hard. Hearing it said directly is startling after years of denial. Dad still objects to it," she notes. "Say you owe us." Martha starts to view things differently. I take a drink of coffee. "Have you ever loved me, or simply what I offered?" She rebels, though I knew not how. "I adored you. I mistook stealing from you with love." She starts to clean her eyes. That does not constitute an excuse. The servant sets aside her tea. She opens the bag, and silence falls as hands shake. I suggest moving ahead. There are conditions. She moves to nod. There's never more money, ever. First priority is Roger and Catherine. One needs therapy. You have to own everything up front. She looks into her drink, struggling, but at last nods. I realize, though challenging, I will do it. Dad won't, I also mention. She gives her head a shake. He objects, believes you will return. Additionally, Martha, still guarded, she is attempting and asks about you. The family is splitting. Some face reality, while others stick to denial. I would be okay with it. If we go on, I control the terms. I determine when you see Catherine. I would want to. When you're ready, she adds, hope flickering. You will have to prove it. Regular updates, treatment, no money conversations. She nods and holds her cup tightly. Now, I am an administrative assistant at the community college. Though not much, it is something. I saw her personally, not as a duty, for the first time. Not love or pardon, but peace, she observes at last. Me too, as her daughter, rather than as a resource. Time is running short. I check my watch. Our 30 minutes have run out. We rise. She respects the limit and does not attempt to embrace me. She says, appreciatively, "You met me." I nod and reach for my pocketbook. We will see. I feel lighter while I'm walking to my vehicle. Not mended, but free. Now not out of retribution, but rather protection and hard-earned insight. I wield authority. A few bridges are restored. Others remain burnt. Knowing the difference is liberty. Still shocked it's ours, I touch the wall of our new house. Sunlight floods windows facing our yard, where a maple tree is poised to cover Catherine's. Swing. Where should I put this? Roger probes, clutching a picture of us from last Christmas. Catherine smiles and grips her giraffe. Feeling the weight of the frame, I suggest beside the stairs, where we will see it every day. Our picture wall now conveys our tale. There are only those who adore us. No forced grins, no checkbook view of me. My phone buzzes. The name of my mother is not banned, but controlled. Saturday, at the same time, found a book Catherine would like. She texts, 10 pieces. Roger will be there. I answer. Boundaries remain one weekly supervised visit. No money discussion, no criticism here. If she wants to visit Catherine, She respects the restrictions. I check my blog, and 3 comments on escaping family ATM obligation. There are 37 members of our support group. People recognizing they are not alone. Look, Mommy. Catherine bursts in carrying a purple artwork for me. She is more respectful than I was 30 years ago at 3. She turned over her juice box last week. She responded firmly, "You say thank you when someone shares," as her buddy snatched it. I kneel. "It's lovely. Should we refrigerate it?" "Sure. Might I show Gamma Saturday?" That day is what? Wednesday comes. Then we wait till Saturday. She nods. There are no outbursts. Children get used to limits. Adults rebel. Respect was subordinated to distance by my father. It aches some days. Other days I'm glad. Less hostile today. Martha calls sometimes. She stated last month, "I had no idea how much you carried." As we watch Catherine color, Roger puts his arms around me. I grin. "Senior Marketing Director. The promotion fits you," he adds. "The pay covers our house, Catherine's tuition, finance. Incredible what I can do when I give up helping folks. I'm speaking tonight at the community center. 20 signed up from family bank to financial independence. From debt to savings, evidence of progress, these slides chronicle my path." Roger says, "What are you thinking?" He always knows. "Thank you." I relax, leaning back. Not for events, but more for what I discovered. "Whose is that?" I look around our house, everything we have picked together. Last week's therapy session reminds me of Mom. I'm glad of the person you have developed. There were no expectations followed, I said, looking at Roger. My value was never what I offered. It is me.